Hello, Benjamin Franklin here. And somehow, mysteriously and unexpectedly, I found myself here in the 21st century. And I certainly do have a lot of interesting stories that I'd like to share with you. The year 1724. I had just set sail on my first trip to England. I was but a young lad, but I'd already managed to make some important friends, like the governor of Pennsylvania. At the time, I was working for a local printer, but the governor thought I had the potential to go into business for myself, and he offered to set me up. I told him I would need to go to England to see about buying the necessary materials like a printing press, a variety of typefaces and fonts, and so forth. So he helped me book passage on a sailing ship, and then promised he'd arrange for credit. That is, making the arrangements for coming up with the money to start my printing shop. Well, here I was sailing off to England, and the governor's letter of credit never arrived. I later found out from one of my fellow passengers that this governor was rather well known for making big promises and never keeping them. So essentially, I was on my own. About all I could do when I arrived in England was to immediately find a job for myself at one of the printing establishments in London, find some place to live, and basically figure out where I was going to go from there to get myself out of this predicament. I was very lucky in that regard, because in no time at all, I'd managed to make some friends, learn more about the printing trade, and then about 2 years later, make my return to America. And oh yes, one other detail. Back in 1724, when I'd first sailed to England, one of the other passengers was a fellow named Thomas Denham, a Quaker merchant, who soon became a good friend of mine. While I was in England, Mr. Denham, learning of my circumstances, offered me the opportunity to become his clerk in a small store he was establishing in Philadelphia. So I thought, why not? Being a merchant might be even more respectable and profitable than being a printer. And by taking him up on his offer, this made it possible for me to return to America. Hope you've enjoyed my story. See you next time. Until then, your humble servant, Benjamin Franklin.